YouTube, how's it going? It's J&A Exotics and welcome back. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the top 5 reasons why I think bearded dragons just make terrible pet choices for some people. So, let's jump into it. This is a juvenile bearded dragon. She's cute, she's compact, she's small. They don't stay this small forever. Bearded dragons actually get to a relatively decent size for a common lizard that everybody buys. Bearded dragons typically stay around 20 inches. On the smaller side, they stay around 18. On the larger side, they can get up to 24. So, due to their large size as adults, bearded dragons actually need relatively larger enclosures. The bare minimum for an adult bearded dragon, this little guy right here, is 120 gallons. Now, a 120 gallon enclosure, that's actually a really big tank. That's 4 feet long, 2 feet deep, and 2 feet high. Not a lot of people have room for that in their house. And if this is a kid that's getting it, or you're buying it for a kid, do they even have room for that in their bedroom? But a lot of people think you can toss these guys in a 40 gallon breeder enclosure, which you cannot. That is not big enough for an adult bearded dragon to provide a proper heat gradient and make sure the lizard's not stressed out. It needs the room to roam. It needs a bigger enclosure. So I was talking about their size. Juvenile bearded dragons will actually grow relatively fast. And since they grow so fast, they need the food and nutrition to help them grow. Now, I feed my girl 3 times a day. I feed her when I wake up. She gets about 10 to 12 crickets. Whatever she doesn't eat, which she usually eats them all, whatever she doesn't eat, I take them out of the enclosure. Then before I go to work, I give her salad. She eats things like kale, collard greens, escarole, rainbow chard, butternut squash, all the good stuff. Usually it's safe to feed them the dark leafy greens. But then I get home from work and I have to feed her again, and she'll eat another 10 to 12 crickets, and she does not stop. But that can be costly. That can be super, super expensive if you're not prepared for it. Now, I do still feed her every day, but as she gets older, his schedule is gonna be changing. And she's looking at me like, what do you mean? I want my crickets. But as bearded dragons get older, they require more of a plant-based diet. So they're gonna be eating things like I listed before, kale, collard greens, fruits, bananas, and such as treats, mainly vegetables. And that's how they're gonna get most of their hydration, and that's where they're gonna get their nutrition. As an adult, you'll be feeding them once a week with insects. But it's just important to note because, like I said, they eat a lot growing up, and that can be costly. Now with them eating so much, the food has to go somewhere. And where does that food go? They poop. A lot. They probably poop a few times a week, and boy, if you've never smelt bearded dragon poop, you're in for a treat. This is probably the biggest con with bearded dragons. Obviously, there's ways around it. You can get like the Glade plugins on the wall, and hopefully it freshens up that stinky poo-poo smell. Or you have to clean the tank often. As soon as they go, the longer it sits in there, the worse it's gonna be. These guys will stink out 3/4 of your house, if not the entire house, if you do not pick that stuff up. I've had bearded dragons in the past, and I've walked into my apartment after work, fresh after a dump, and man, it's nasty. It can make you gag. So these guys right here are just nature's little stink bombs. And man, I can't express it enough. I hate the smell of bearded dragon poop. And of everything I've owned, bearded dragons have to be the worst by far. So the last con, I have to make this quick because my camera's running out of memory. But the last con is actually probably one of the most important reasons why bearded dragons make terrible pets. And it's they require full spectrum lighting. Why is that a con? Because the bulbs are super expensive. Now, full spectrum lighting is very important to their health. Without it, they're gonna run into long-term health problems like metabolic bone disease. But the big problem with them being so expensive is they only last about 6 months. And that's for a really decent one. The cheaper ones, they probably don't even last that long, to be honest. So if you can't afford to buy a UVB bulb every 6 months or so, you can't be buying a bearded dragon. It's, in the long run, it's just gonna cause terrible health issues for these animals. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is 5 reasons why I think bearded dragons make terrible pet choices. Now, if you guys liked the video, smash the subscribe button, hit that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.